Welcome to the Aviation Air Traffic Control Fundamentals course, which is fully updated for the year 2026. Imagine controlling hundreds of massive airplanes, keeping them all completely safe in the busy sky above. These questions come with full explanations, which will help you get your certification on the first try. Please leave your ideas and suggestions in the comment section below, helping us to improve this course. Section 1. Welcome to our class about air traffic control, where we learn to keep planes safe today. I will teach you basic rules of the sky, making it easy to understand for you. You will learn how we guide pilots, from their takeoff to landing, without any big problems. Air traffic control is a big system, designed to prevent crashes between airplanes in the air. We also make sure planes do not crash into each other while moving on the ground. In the year 2026, we use new tools to track planes very accurately now. Some controllers work in tall towers, looking out the windows to see the runways and taxiways. Other controllers work in dark rooms, looking at radar screens to track flights far away. Every controller has a specific job, working together as a tight team to guide the flights. Clearance delivery is the very first step, where pilots get their official route for the trip. Ground control takes over next, guiding the airplane safely from the gate to the active runway. We have to watch out for luggage carts, fuel trucks, and other ground service vehicles. Local control is the tower boss, giving the final permission for airplanes to safely take off. Once the plane is in the air, departure control takes over to guide its steep climb. We give the pilots new directions, helping them join the main highways high in the sky. En route controllers manage high-altitude flights, making sure they stay safely separated from each other. When it is time to land, approach control lines up the planes for the active runway. The sky has different classes of airspace, labeled carefully with letters from A down to G. Class A is high up, where all airplanes must talk to us and follow the rules. Class B surrounds the busiest airports, looking like a giant upside-down wedding cake of protection. You need special permission to enter Class B, because there is so much traffic flying there. Class C is for medium airports, where we still need to talk to every single pilot. Class D is for smaller airports, which have a control tower but much less total traffic. Class E is controlled airspace everywhere else, filling in the empty gaps between the other areas. Class G is completely uncontrolled, meaning pilots can fly there without talking to air traffic control. Use radar to bounce radio waves off planes, figuring out exactly where they are flying. Modern planes also send their own location data to us, using GPS for much better accuracy. This new system is called ADS-B, making our tracking much more reliable in the open sky. We can see the plane speed, altitude, and direction right on our digital radar computer screens. Separation is our most important rule, keeping a safe bubble of empty space around the airplanes. Planes must stay at least 3 miles apart sideways, or 1,000 feet apart flying vertically. If planes get too close, our computers flash bright warnings, telling us to fix it quickly. We quickly tell the pilot to turn, climb, or descend to avoid a dangerous mid-air crash. Weather is a huge challenge, because thunderstorms can easily damage an airplane flying in the sky. We help pilots fly around bad weather, finding safe gaps between the very dark storm clouds. Wind direction changes how planes land, because they always want to land directly into the wind. If the wind gets too strong, we might have to change the active landing runway quickly. Communicationize how we do our job, using special radios to talk to the flying pilots. We use a phonetic alphabet, saying words like Alpha and Bravo to spell out different letters. This stops confusion over the radio, making sure the pilot hears the exact right flying instructions. We also use standard phrases, so everyone expects the same words in a given flying situation. Readbacks are mandatory for safety, meaning pilots must repeat our given instructions back to us clearly. If a pilot says something wrong, we immediately correct him to prevent a very bad mistake. We have to listen very carefully, filtering out radio static and accents from many foreign pilots. It takes a lot of focus, keeping our minds sharp during a very long busy shift. Air traffic control is stressful, but it is also a very rewarding job for all of us. We get to solve complex puzzles, moving planes safely like chess pieces on a game board. Every day brings a new challenge, keeping the work interesting and fresh for our active minds. Training takes a very long time, mostly working on simulators before talking to real airplane pilots. Simulators let us practice emergencies, teaching us how to stay calm when things go very wrong. Train, test, we need to fix, repeat, until we perfect the skills needed for sky safety. We learn how to handle engine failures, sick passengers, or broken radios on the flying planes. When an emergency happens, we give that plane priority over all the other flying sky traffic. You have to think 3 steps ahead, predicting where every airplane will be in a few minutes. If you wait too long to turn a plane, they will get dangerously close together. We use our voices to command the sky, creating order out of total flying airplane chaos. It is a heavy responsibility, knowing that thousands of lives depend on our daily control decisions. Wake turbulence is another invisible danger, created by the wings of heavy airplanes flying very fast. It is like a tornado behind the plane, capable of flipping a smaller airplane upside down. We have to leave extra space behind big jets, letting the dangerous air settle down completely. This slows down the landing rate, but it is necessary to keep everyone flying completely safe. We coordinate with other controllers constantly, handing off airplanes as they fly across the large country. It is a smooth relay race, passing the baton of responsibility from one sector to sector. We use special computer systems to send flight plans, sharing data with the next radio controller. Everything is tracked and recorded, allowing us to review any mistakes and learn from them today. By working together as a tight team, we ensure that every flight reaches its destination safely. 1. What is the primary and most important goal of the air traffic control system today? The main goal is to prevent crashes and keep all airplanes safe in the open sky. We manage the flying traffic carefully, making sure airplanes stay a safe distance apart from each other. 2. Which controller is responsible for giving airplanes the final permission to take off and fly today? Local control, sitting in the tower, gives the official clearance to take off and safely land. They watch the active runways closely, ensuring no other planes or trucks are blocking the way. 3. How do we keep airplanes safely apart when they are flying high up in the clouds? We use radar screens to monitor them, enforcing strict distance rules for every single flying flight. Planes must stay 3 miles apart horizontally, or 1,000 feet apart in vertical height today. 4. What kind of airspace surrounds the largest and busiest airports in our country right now today? Class B airspace surrounds the busiest airports, looking somewhat like an upside-down wedding cake shape. This shape protects the heavy traffic areas, requiring special permission for any piloto enter safely. 5. How does the new ADS-B technology help us track airplanes better than older traditional radar systems? Planes send their exact GPS location to us, updating our computer screens faster than older radar. This makes our tracking highly accurate, giving us a clearer picture of the crowded flying sky. 6. Why do controllers use a special phonetic alphabet when talking to pilots on the two-way radio? We use words like Alpha and Bravo to prevent dangerous confusion over the noisy static radios. It ensures the pilot hears the exact letters, making their flying routes safe and very clear. 7. What happens when an airplane experiences a major emergency while flying in our busy controlled airspace? We give that emergency airplane absolute priority, clearing all other traffic out of its flying way. We help them find the nearest airport, guiding them down for a fast and safe landing. 8. What invisible danger is created by the wings of very heavy airplanes flying at high speeds? Heavy airplanes create dangerous wake turbulence, which acts like small dangerous tornadoes spinning behind their wings. We leave extra space behind large jets, allowing this turbulent air to calm down completely today. 9. What is the role of ground control at a busy commercial airport during the long day? Ground control guides airplanes safely from the terminal gates all the way to the active runways. They prevent ground collisions by watching for baggage carts, fuel trucks, and other large moving planes. 10. How do air traffic controllers ensure that pilots understood the instructions given over the busy radio? Pilots must complete a verbal readback, repeating our specific instructions clearly over the radio to us. If the pilot says the wrong thing, we can correct them before they make bad mistakes. 11. Which class of airspace allows pilots to fly safely without talking to air traffic control facilities? Class G is completely uncontrolled airspace, allowing pilots to fly freely without our direct voice guidance. This area is usually close to the ground, located far away from busy commercial airport traffic. 12. What do en route controllers do when managing flights traveling across the entire country right now? They control the high-altitude traffic, keeping fast passenger jets safely separated during long flying trips. These controllers work in dark rooms, watching radar screens to guide planes between different large cities. 13. Why does the wind direction matter so much when we are landing planes at the busy airports? Airplanes always need to land into the wind, because it helps them slow down safely today. If the wind shifts direction, we have to flip the airport flow to new active runways. 14. How do controllers practice for emergencies without putting any real airplane passengers in actual flying danger? We train extensively on computer simulators, practicing how to handle difficult and rare flying airplane emergencies. Simulators create a safe environment to learn, letting us build our skills before real flying situations. 15. What is the very first step for a pilot getting ready to leave a major airport? They talk to clearance delivery, receiving their official approved flight route for the upcoming long journey. This sets the plan for the trip, ensuring everyone agrees on where the plane safely goes. 16. How do controllers pass a flying airplane from one busy sector to the next busy sector? We coordinate the transfer smoothly, handing off control to the next person over the flying radio. It works like a long relay race, passing the responsibility as the plane flies safely onward. 17. What do our computer systems do if two airplanes are getting too close to each other? The systems flash bright visual warnings, alerting us quickly to a potential crash in flight today. We immediately tell the pilots to turn or climb, restoring a safe distance between them quickly. 18. Why is the job of an air traffic controller considered to be very highly stressful today? The job requires intense focus because thousands of human lives depend on our quick daily decisions. We have to track many moving planes, solving complex problems without ever making a bad mistake. 19. What airspace class acts as the filler between other areas, providing standard controlled flying rules today? Class E is general controlled airspace, filling the empty gaps between towers and high-flying altitudes. It ensures that planes flying cross-country still receive basic radar coverage and important safety services. You can find the link to get the full complete course in the video description below. Section 2. Today we will learn about airport layouts, which are like big road maps for the flying airplanes. Airports use specific numbers and letters, helping pilots find their way around the ground safely and quickly. Runway numbers are based on compass directions, making it easy for pilots to know their exact heading. If a runway faces exactly east, it will be called runway 9 for 90 degrees on the compass. Runway 27 faces exactly west, meaning it points at 270 degrees on the compass. Read a left, center, or right letter when airports have parallel runways sitting next to each other. This stops pilots from landing on the wrong runway, keeping the busy airport traffic flowing very smoothly. Taxiways are the smaller roads, connecting the big runways to the terminal gates where passengers wait patiently. We name taxiways using simple letters, like taxiway Alpha or taxiway Bravo, to keep things very clear. We never use the letters I or O, because they look too much like the numbers 1 and 0. Runway signs are painted in bright colors, warning pilots before they enter a dangerous or active area. A red sign with white letters means stop, telling the pilot they are entering a very active runway. Yellow signs with black letters show the location, telling the pilot exactly which taxiway they are on now. Black signs with yellow letters show the direction, pointing the way to different runways or terminal gates. Pilots must follow the exact lines painted on the ground, keeping their airplane wheels safely on the pavement. Yellow lines mark the center of the taxiway, guiding the big planes safely through the tight airport corners. Solid yellow lines mean you must stop, waiting for permission from the ground controller before moving forward. Dashed yellow lines mean you can cross freely, as long as the runway is clear of other airplanes. At night, airports turn on many bright lights, helping pilots see the runways and taxiways in the dark. Blue lights mark the edges of the taxiways, showing the safe path for the airplanes to follow carefully. White lights mark the edges of the active runway, looking like a long glowing road in the darkness. Green lights show the start of the runway, telling the pilot where it is safe to touch down. Red lights mark the end of the runway, warning the pilot that they are running out of space. Runway markings are always painted in bright white, making them easy to see from high up in the sky. Taxiway markings are always painted in bright yellow, separating the parking areas from the fast-flying airplane zones. We use a special system called the airport beacon, flashing a bright light high up in the dark sky. Civilian airports flash white and green lights, while military airports flash 2 white lights and one green light. This helps lost pilots find the airport easily, guiding them safely home when they are flying at night. Windsocks show the wind direction, blowing in the breeze to tell pilots where the air is moving. Pilots look at the windsock before landing, making sure they land directly into the blowing wind safely. Airport layout is a very big topic, but we will make it simple for you to understand today. Read, learn. We need to practice, repeat, until you know every sign and line on the airport ground. We want you to be a great controller, guiding the plane safely without any confusion on the ground. The tower controllers look out the large windows, watching the airplanes move slowly along the painted yellow lines. They use binoculars to see far away, making sure no trucks are driving on the active runway surface. Sometimes animals wander onto the airport grass, so we have to send a truck to chase them away. We call this a runway incursion, which is a very dangerous situation that we must always avoid carefully. Safety is our biggest goal, keeping the airport running smoothly from the early morning until the late night. Every airport is uniquely designed, fitting into the local city layout and dealing with the local weather patterns. You will memorize your own airport map, learning every single taxiway and runway by heart to be successful. Let us test your new knowledge now, answering some simple questions to check your basic air traffic understanding. 20. How do we decide the numbers painted on the start of the airport runways? We use compass directions, dropping the last zero to make the two-digit runway number. If the runway faces east at 90 degrees, it gets painted with a big number 9. 21. What do we add to the number if an airport has two parallel runways side by side? We add the letters left or right, helping pilots know which specific runway they must use. This keeps the traffic separated safely, stopping planes from landing on the exact same concrete strip. 22. What are the smaller paved roads that connect the runways to the terminal gates called today? These smaller roads are called taxiways, letting airplanes drive slowly around the busy airport ground layout. Pilots use them to clear the runway quickly, making room for the next fast landing plane. 23. Why do we never use the letters I or O when we are naming the airport taxiways? We avoid those specific letters because they look exactly like the numbers 1 and 0 today. This stops confusion on the radio, ensuring pilots drive down the correct path on the ground. 24. What does a red airport sign with bright white letters mean to a driving airplane pilot? It is a mandatory instruction sign, telling the pilot they are entering a very dangerous area. The pilot must stop immediately, waiting for ground control to give them permission to move forward. 25. What color are the painted lines that mark the center of the airplane driving taxiways? The taxiway center lines are painted solid yellow, showing the safe path for the airplane wheels. Pilots follow this yellow line carefully, keeping their wide airplane wings away from buildings and grass. 26. What color of lights are used to mark the edges of the taxiways during the dark night? We use bright blue lights, lining the sides of the taxiways to guide planes in darkness. These blue lights create a clear path, helping pilots drive safely when they cannot see far. 27. What color are the lights that mark the very edges of the main active landing runway? The runway edge lights are bright white, showing the long straight path for the flying airplane. This helps the pilot line up perfectly, aiming their airplane straight down the middle of the runway. 28. What color of lights show the pilot where the safe landing runway comes to an end? The runway end lights glow bright red, warning the pilot that they are out of driving space. This stops the airplane from driving off the pavement, keeping the passengers safe on the smooth ground. 29. What color is always used to paint the markings on the main active landing airplane runways? All runway markings are painted in bright white, making them very easy to see from the air. White paint stands out against the dark pavement, helping pilots find the runway from high up. 30. What colors does a civilian airport beacon flash high up in the dark night sky today? A civilian airport beacon flashes white and green lights, rotating in a circle through the dark night. This bright flashing signal helps lost pilots find the airport, guiding them safely home from far away. 31. How does a military airport beacon look different from a normal civilian airport flashing beacon? Military airports flash two quick white lights, followed closely by a single green flashing light today. This specific pattern tells pilots they are looking at an army base, instead of a public airport. 32. What simple cloth device shows the flying pilots which way the local wind is blowing today? An orange wind sock blows in the breeze, pointing the exact direction the wind is moving now. Pilots check this brightly colored sock before landing, making sure they land safely into the blowing wind. 33. What do solid painted yellow lines on the taxiway mean to a driving airplane pilot today? Solid yellow lines mean the pilot must stop, holding their heavy airplane short of the runway edge. They cannot cross the solid line safely until the controller gives them explicit permission on the radio. 34. What do dashed painted yellow lines on the taxiway ground mean to an airplane pilot? Dashed yellow lines mean the pilot can cross, moving off the active runway without needing special permission. This helps clear the runway very quickly, allowing the next flying airplane to land safely behind them. 35. What is it called when an unauthorized truck or person gets onto the active airplane runway? We call this a dangerous runway incursion, which is a major safety emergency for the working controllers. We must stop the landing airplanes immediately, sending a vehicle to chase the danger off the grass. 36. What tool do tower controllers use to see things that are located very far away today? Controllers look through strong binoculars, zooming in to check the active runway surface for any hidden dangers. This helps us spot animals or small trucks, ensuring the long concrete path is clear for landing. 37. What color are the painted location signs that tell pilots which taxiway they are on now? Location signs are painted bright yellow, featuring large black letters to show the current taxiway name clearly. These signs act like street names, helping the driving pilot follow the controller instructions on the ground. 38. How does a pilot know they are driving onto a runway, using the painted red signs? A red sign with white letters means stop, warning the pilot they are entering the active runway. The pilot must stop and check the radio, making sure they have clearance to enter the runway. You can find the link to get the full complete course in the video description below. Section 3. Today we will talk about radar systems, helping us see the invisible airplanes in the dark sky. Radar uses bouncy radio waves, bouncing off metal airplane bodies to show us their exact flying location. A large spinning radar dish sends out invisible energy, sweeping the sky constantly in a giant circle. When the energy hits a flying airplane, it bounces right back to our listening radar receiver dish. The computer measures the time it takes, figuring out exactly how far away the flying airplane is. This system is called primary radar, but it only shows us a small dot on the screen. We need to know more information, like how high the plane is flying and its exact speed. Secondary radar solves this tricky problem, talking directly to a small radio box inside the flying airplane. This small radio box is called a transponder, squawking a special number back to our radar screen. The transponder tells us the airplane altitude, painting a very clear picture for the controller to see. We assign a unique 4-digit squawk code, giving every single flight its own special tracking identity. If a pilot has a bad emergency, they change their squawk code to alert us very quickly. Code 7700 means emergency, telling every controller that this plane needs immediate flying help. Code 7600 means radio failure, showing us that the pilot cannot talk to us. Code 7500 means hijacking, warning us quietly that a bad person took the plane. Look, listen, we need to fix, repeat, until we safely guide every airplane through the crowded sky. Weather radar is another helpful tool we use, showing us the big heavy rain and dangerous storms. Airplanes cannot fly safely through large thunderstorms, because the heavy winds can break the airplane wings apart. We use the weather radar screen carefully, steering the airplanes around the worst parts of the storm. Communication is just as important as radar, using strong radios to talk back and forth with pilots. We use very high-frequency radio waves, traveling in straight lines through the air to the planes. Because they radio waves travel in straight lines, tall mountains can easily block our clear radio signals. We build tall radio towers on mountains, making sure our voice reaches the airplanes flying far away. Controllers wear comfortable headsets with small microphones, keeping their hands completely free to type on the computer. We press a foot pedal to talk, acting exactly like a large walkie-talkie on the floor. You must think about your instructions carefully, planning your exact words before you press the foot pedal. When the controller talks on the radio, all the other pilots listening on that frequency hear it. We keep our messages very short and clear, leaving the radio open for other people to talk. Pilots must always repeat our specific instructions, proving they heard the correct altitude and direction to fly. If the pilot reads back the wrong numbers, we correct them immediately to stop a dangerous crash. We always use standard aviation phraseology, speaking a universal language that pilots from every country understand easily. Saying Roger means I received your message, but it does not mean the pilot's permission yet. Saying Wilco means I will comply safely, promising to do exactly what the controller just asked them. We never say the word yes or no, because those small words sound too similar over static. We say affirmative for yes and negative for no, making our meaning completely clear to the pilot. 39. What basic technology helps us see airplanes flying invisibly high up in the dark night sky today? We use bouncy radio wave radar, reflecting off planes to show us their exact location. The spinning dish sends out energy, bouncing back to tell us where the plane is flying. 40. What is the name of the main radar that only shows a small dot on our screen? Primary radar bounces raw energy off the metal planes, showing only a dot without an altitude. It cannot tell us how high the plane is, making it harder to separate the traffic safely. 41. How do we get the altitude and speed information from the flying airplane to our radar screen? Secondary radar talks to a small box in the plane, getting the extra details we really need. This system is much more advanced, giving the controller a clear picture of the flying traffic. 42. What is the name of the special radio box located inside the flying airplane cockpit today? The box is called a transponder, sending important flight details down to our busy control tower. It squawks a special 4-digit code, helping us identify each specific airplane on our screen. 43. Why do we assign a unique 4-digit squawk code to every single airplane taking off today? The code gives the plane a specific identity, linking the radar dot to the correct flight plan. This helps us know exactly who is flying, ensuring we give instructions to the correct pilot. 44. What special emergency squawk code does a pilot use when their airplane is completely broken in flight? The pilot types 7700 into their transponder, flashing a bright emergency warning to us. This tells every controller that the plane needs immediate help, clearing the way for a landing. 45. What squawk code tells the busy controller that the airplane radio has stopped working completely right now? The pilot uses code 7600, showing us they cannot talk on the broken radio. We use flashing light guns from the tower window, guiding the silent plane down to land safely. 46. What secret squawk code does a pilot use if a bad person takes over the airplane forcefully? They quietly squawk 7500, secretly warning the ground controllers about the dangerous hijacking situation. We call the police immediately, keeping the plane away from crowded cities for everyone's total safety. 47. What type of radar do controllers use to find dangerous storms blowing in the sky today? We use special weather radar screens, showing heavy rain and strong winds hiding in the dark clouds. This keeps airplanes safely away from thunderstorms, preventing heavy damage to the fragile airplane wings. 48. Why do controllers have to steer airplanes carefully around the dark and stormy thunderstorm clouds right now? Thunderstorms have very strong, dangerous winds, easily capable of breaking a flying airplane apart in the air. We guide pilots through clear weather gaps, keeping the passengers comfortable and safe during the flight. 49. What kind of radio waves do we use to talk back and forth with the flying pilots? We use very high-frequency radio waves, traveling quickly in straight lines to the flying airplanes. These signals are very strong and clear, allowing pilots to hear our exact control instructions easily. 50. Why can tall mountains cause big problems for our air traffic control radio signals in the sky? Mountains block the straight radio waves, stopping our voices from reaching the airplanes flying very low down. We build tall radio towers on the high mountain peaks, broadcasting our voices over the rocky obstacles. 51. How do busy controllers talk on the radio while keeping their hands free to type computer data? They wear comfortable headsets and press a foot pedal, working exactly like a floor-mounted walkie-talkie. This lets controllers type fast and point at screens, talking to pilots without dropping their work tools. 52. Why must air traffic controllers plan their exact words carefully before pressing the radio talking foot pedal? The radio channel is very busy, so we must keep our messages extremely short and perfectly clear. This leaves enough open time on the radio frequency, letting other pilots ask their important flying questions. 53. What does the standard aviation word Roger mean when a pilot says it over the busy radio? Roger simply means I heard your message, confirming the radio transmission was received loudly and clearly. It does not mean the pilot will obey, so we still need a full instruction read back always. 54. What does the pilot mean when they say the word Wilco on the air traffic radio today? Wilco means I will comply, promising the controller they will follow the new flying instructions safely now. This gives us total confidence, knowing the pilot is turning to the correct new airplane heading safely. 55. Why do controllers avoid using simple words like yes or no when talking on the flying radio? Those short words sound very similar through static, causing dangerous confusion for the listening airplane pilot. We always want to be perfectly clear, preventing bad mistakes that could cause a mid-air crash. 56. What standard word do we use instead of yes to confirm something clearly on the busy radio? We say the word affirmative, making sure the pilot understands our exact meaning through the loud static. This long word is much easier to hear properly, keeping our communication extremely safe and very clear. 57. What specific word do controllers always use instead of saying no to a flying airplane pilot today? We always say the word negative, rejecting the pilot's request clearly without any room for bad confusion. Using standard words prevents dangerous misunderstandings, ensuring every airplane follows the correct rules in the sky. You can find the link to get the full complete course in the video description below. Section 4. Today we will learn about flight rules, telling pilots how to fly safely in different weather. Pilots use two main sets of rules, depending entirely on how cloudy the sky is looking. The first set is visual flight rules, which we just call VFR for short in aviation. When flying under visual flight rules, the pilot must be able to see the ground clearly. They look out the big cockpit windows, using their own human eyes to avoid crashing into things. They follow roads and wide rivers on the ground, finding their way exactly like a driving car. If the weather gets very bad, visual flying becomes extremely dangerous for the small airplane pilot. Clouds block their view completely, making it impossible to see other airplanes or tall radio towers. When the sky is full of dark clouds, pilots must use instrument flight rules to fly. We call this IFR for short, relying entirely on the computers inside the airplane cockpit today. Under instrument flight rules, the pilot does not need to look outside the glass window at all. They look at their glowing digital screens, following electronic signals to stay on the correct flying path. Air traffic controllers become very helpful here, guiding the blind airplanes safely through the thick wet clouds. We give them exact compass headings to fly, making sure they never hit a tall rocky mountain. Read, learn, we need to practice, repeat, until you understand how these flying rules work safely together. Instrument pilots use special ground antennas, sending out strong radio beams to mark the invisible sky highways. The airplane computer catches these radio beams, showing the flying pilot exactly where to steer the plane. We have a big network of these antennas, connecting all the major cities across our large country. GPS is another amazing tool we use, tracking special satellites floating high up in the dark space. Satellites send signals down to the airplane, calculating its exact location with very high math accuracy. This lets pilots fly in a perfectly straight line, saving expensive jet fuel on their long journeys. Waypoints are imaginary dots in the sky, created by the very smart satellite computer tracking systems. Pilots connect these invisible waypoints together, creating a perfectly straight flying route for their long trip. When landing in the thick white fog, pilots use the instrument landing system to find active runways. This smart system shoots a radio beam into the sky, pointing exactly at the start of the runway. The airplane rides this invisible sloping radio beam downward, safely touching the concrete without seeing the ground. Controllers must keep instrument flights carefully separated, leaving extra empty space between the blind flying airplanes. We have to trust our radar screens completely, acting as the eyes for the blinded flying pilot. We give them a safe altitude to maintain, ensuring they fly high above the hidden Rocky Mountains. Flight plans are like a written digital promise, telling us exactly where the pilot wants to fly. Instrument pilots must file a detailed flight plan, submitting it to the computer before they take off. We read this plan on our radar screens, knowing their full route before they start the engine. If they go off their planned safe route, We call them quickly on the radio to check. Sometimes the stormy weather changes very fast, forcing the pilot to ask for a new flying route. We type the new safe route into the computer, updating the plan for all the other controllers. If a pilot gets confused in the clouds, we talk to them calmly on the loud radio. We tell them exactly which way to safely turn, guiding them out of the dangerous storm quickly. You have to be very highly confident, speaking with a strong voice to keep the pilot calm. This fast teamwork keeps the whole system running, moving millions of people safely through the sky daily. 58. What set of flying rules do pilots use when the weather is very sunny and clear? Pilots use visual flight rules, looking out the big windows to fly the plane safely today. They navigate by watching the ground, avoiding clouds and other planes with their own human eyes. 59. What simple short abbreviation do we use to talk about visual flight rules on the radio? We simply call it VFR, which is much faster to say on the busy controller radio. It tells everyone that the pilot is flying by looking outside at the sunny blue sky. 60. Why does visual flying become extremely dangerous when the weather gets cloudy and very dark today? Thick clouds block the pilot's clear view, making it impossible to see mountains or other planes. If they cannot see outside the window, they might easily crash into a tall hidden object. 61. What rules must a pilot follow when the sky is full of very thick, heavy clouds? They must use instrument flight rules, trusting their cockpit computer screens to guide them safely home. The pilot flies blindly through the clouds, relying on electronic signals to find the airport runway. 62. What simple short abbreviation do controllers use to talk about instrument flight rules every single day? We call it IFR, letting us know the pilot is relying on airplane computers to navigate. These pilots need much more help from us, because they cannot see outside their foggy windows. 63. How do air traffic controllers help instrument pilots who are flying blindly in the thick clouds? We act as their eyes, using our radar screens to guide them safely around dangerous obstacles. We give them specific compass headings to steer, keeping them far away from other flying airplanes. What do special ground antennas do to help instrument pilots find their way in the sky? 64. Ground antennas shoot radio beams into the air, creating invisible flying highways for the airplane computers. Pilots track these electronic signals carefully, following the straight radio path to the next big city. 65. How does the space satellite GPS system help modern airplanes navigate on very long flying journeys? Space satellites send signals down to the airplane, calculating the exact location with very high accuracy. This allows the pilot to fly a perfectly straight line, saving time and expensive jet fuel. 66. What do we call the imaginary dots in the sky created by the smart GPS computers? We call them invisible waypoints, acting like floating road signs in the empty blue sky today. Pilots connect these digital waypoints together, building a smooth flying route across the entire wide country. 67. What special equipment helps airplane pilots land safely when the runway is covered in thick fog? Pilots use the instrument landing system, catching a strong radio beam that points at the runway. The airplane rides this sloping electronic beam downward, touching the concrete without seeing the ground early. 68. Why do controllers have to leave extra empty space between airplanes flying in the dark clouds? Blind pilots cannot see each other at all, so we need extra safety room between them. We enforce strict radar distance rules, making sure the blind planes never get dangerously close together. 69. What must an instrument pilot submit to the control computer before they start the airplane engine? They must file a detailed flight plan, telling us exactly where they intend to fly today. We review this digital plan carefully, checking for any route problems before giving them takeoff permission. 70. How do controllers know the exact route an instrument pilot wants to fly across the country? We read their digital flight plan carefully, seeing all their requested waypoints on our radar screen. This lets us plan our control strategy early, keeping the sky organized and very safe today. 71. What do we do if an instrument pilot suddenly flies off their planned safe computer route? We call the pilot immediately on the radio, asking if they have a broken navigation problem. We give them a new compass heading quickly, steering him back onto the correct safe flying path. 72. Why might a flying pilot ask for a brand new route while they're already flying? Bad storm clouds can form very fast, forcing the pilot to fly around the dangerous weather. We update their computer flight plan quickly, clearing a new safe path through the stormy sky. 73. What is our main job when an instrument pilot gets confused inside a dark, thick cloud? We speak with a calm, strong voice, giving him very clear directions to fly out safely. We guide them towards clear sunny weather, helping them fix their dangerous flying problem very quickly. 74. How do visual flight rule pilots find their way without using the fancy airplane computer screens? They look out the big cockpit windows, following long roads, wide rivers, and large train tracks. They navigate exactly like a person driving a car, matching the ground to a folding paper map. 75. What happens if a visual pilot accidentally flies into a very thick and dark rain cloud? They can lose their sense of balance quickly, getting completely confused about which way ISUP. This is a major flying emergency, requiring our immediate help to guide them back to safety. 76. Why is learning all these different flying rules so important for a new air traffic controller? You must know exactly how each plane flies, ensuring you give the correct type of instructions. Applying the right rules to the right airplane keeps the entire crowded sky perfectly safe today. You can find the link to get the full complete course in the video description below. Section 5. Today we will learn about separation rules, creating safe bubbles of empty space around every flying airplane. Controllers must keep airplanes far apart, preventing dangerous mid-air crashes from happening in the busy open sky. We use two main types of separation, focusing on horizontal distance and vertical height in the air. Vertical separation means keeping planes at different heights, stacking them safely like tall pancakes in the sky. Most airplanes must stay exactly 1,000 feet apart, flying safely above or below each other today. If one plane flies at 10,000 feet, the next plane must fly at 11,000 feet. This simple rule is very highly effective, stopping airplanes from hitting each other while flying very fast. We use our radar screens to watch the altitude, making sure no pilot climbs into another airplane. Horizontal separation means keeping airplanes apart side to side, leaving enough empty miles between the flying jets. Radar controllers need to keep planes 3 miles apart when they fly close to the busy airport. When airplanes fly higher and farther away, we increase the safe distance to 5 full empty miles. Look, think, we need to fix, Repeat until you understand how to separate the fast-flying planes. We must also think about the speed of airplanes, because some jets fly much faster than others. If a fast jet flies behind a slow plane, the fast jet will easily catch up quickly. We have to turn the fast jet away, or tell him to slow down the powerful engines. Speed control is a great tool for us, lining airplanes up perfectly for a safe active runway. Wake turbulence is another big reason we separate planes, caused by heavy airplanes pushing the air hard. Big wings create invisible spinning tornadoes of wind, trailing far behind the heavy jet in the sky. If a small plane hits this bad wind, it can flip completely upside down in the air. We force small planes to wait longer, giving the dangerous spinning wind time to die down completely. A heavy jet might land safely on the runway, but the next plane must wait 3 minutes. This extra waiting time keeps everyone very safe, preventing bad crashes caused by the invisible spinning wind. Visual separation is another trick we use, asking the pilots to look out the big glass windows. If a pilot sees the other flying airplane, they can promise to stay away from it safely. This lets us put planes a little closer, moving more traffic quickly without using strict radar miles. You must always speak clearly on the radio, ensuring pilots understand your exact safe separation flying instructions. If you make a mistake with the distance, the warning alarms will flash brightly on your computer. We call this a loss of separation, meaning we broke the safety rules and must fix it. You have to think ahead of the planes, predicting where they will fly in 5 short minutes. We are playing a very fast game of chess, using giant metal airplanes high up in the sky. It requires intense mental focus and fast planning, keeping thousands of happy passengers completely safe every day. 77. What do controllers call the safe bubble of empty space around every flying airplane today? We call it safe separation, keeping planes far apart to prevent dangerous crashes in the sky. This invisible bubble ensures that airplanes never bump into each other while flying extremely fast today. 78. What does vertical separation mean when we are controlling airplanes flying high up in the clouds? Vertical separation means keeping airplanes at different heights, stacking them safely in the empty blue sky. We assign different altitudes to the pilots, making sure they fly far above or below safely. 79. How many feet apart must airplanes stay when they are flying vertically in the controlled sky? Most airplanes must stay exactly 1,000 feet apart, flying safely above or below each other. If one is at 10,000 feet, the next one is at 11,000 feet safely. 80. What do we call the separation that keeps planes safely apart from side to side today? We call this horizontal separation, leaving enough empty miles between the fast-flying airplanes right now. This prevents planes flying at the exact same height from crashing into each other mid-flight. 81. How many empty miles must we leave between airplanes flying close to a very busy airport? We must keep them exactly 3 miles apart, using our radar screens to measure the true distance. This safe distance gives pilots plenty of room to turn and land safely on the runway. 82. How many miles apart do airplanes need to stay when flying higher up and farther away? We increase the safety distance to 5 full miles, leaving extra room for the flying pilots. Radar is slightly less accurate far away, so we need a larger safety bubble around planes. 83. What happens when a very fast jet flies right behind a much slower flying small airplane? The fast jet will quickly catch the slow airplane, destroying our safe empty separation bubble immediately. We must give the fast jet a new compass heading, turning him away from the danger. 84. How can a controller fix a problem with a fast jet following a very slow airplane? We can easily tell the fast jet pilot to slow down the powerful engines right now. Speed control is a great tool, helping us keep the perfect distance between the flying airplanes. 85. What invisible danger is created by the wings of heavy airplanes pushing hard on the air? Heavy jets create wake turbulence, which acts like dangerous spinning tornadoes blowing far behind their wings. This bad wind can easily flip a small flying airplane completely upside down in the sky. 86. How do controllers protect small airplanes from the dangerous spinning wake turbulence wind in the air? We force the small airplane to wait longer, giving the wind time to die down completely. We might make them wait 3 full minutes before taking off behind a large heavy jet. 87. What is visual separation when we are talking to pilots on the loud two-way controller radio? We ask the pilot to look outside, keeping themselves safely away from other airplanes they see. This speeds up the airport traffic, letting planes fly closer than the strict radar distance rules. 88. Why must we always speak clearly on the radio when giving pilots safe separation flying instructions? Clear talking ensures the pilot hears the right numbers, moving their airplane to the correct spot. A simple radio misunderstanding can cause a major crash, ruining the safe separation bubble we built. 89. What happens on the controller computer screen if we make a mistake with the airplane distance? Bright warning alarms will flash on the digital screen, telling us that planes are too close. We must quickly tell the pilots to turn sharply, restoring the safe space between them immediately. 90. What do we call the major mistake when two airplanes break the safe radar distance rules? We call this a dangerous loss of separation, meaning we failed to keep the planes apart. It is a very serious event, forcing controllers to file safety reports and fix their mistakes. 91. Why do air traffic controllers need to think several steps ahead of the flying airplanes today? We have to predict where planes will fly in 5 minutes, solving the puzzle very early. If you wait until planes are close together, it is completely too late to turn them. 92. How is air traffic control similar to playing a very fast game of chess right now? We move the airplanes like metal chess pieces, planning every turn safely across the large board. Every radio command changes the whole picture, requiring very deep thought and fast active brain planning. 93. What is the most important part of keeping planes vertically separated like pancakes in the sky? We trust the airplane altimeter instruments completely, reading the exact height numbers on our radar screens. The pilot must fly the exact altitude we assign, never climbing without our explicit radio permission. 94. Why do radar controllers need intense mental focus during a very long busy working shift today? We watch many dots moving fast on a screen, keeping thousands of innocent flying passengers safe. Losing focus for just 1 minute can cause planes to hit, so we take regular breaks. 95. How do we help pilots understand our complex flying instructions over the noisy static radio channel? We use simple standard words, delivering our voice clearly so they know exactly where to turn. We never rush our speech, making sure our calm voice provides total confidence to the pilot. You can find the link to get the full complete course in the video description below. Section 6. Today we will learn about flying emergencies, helping pilots when things go wrong in the air. Airplanes are very safe machines, but sometimes engines break down or radios stop working completely today. When a pilot has a bad problem, they tell us immediately on the loud controller radio. We declare an official flying emergency, giving that broken airplane absolute priority over all other traffic. We force every other flying airplane to turn away, clearing a massive empty path for them. The broken airplane does not have to follow our normal distance rules during a scary emergency. They can fly straight to the closest airport, landing quickly on the longest available paved runway. We call the airport fire trucks, making sure they wait next to the runway for safety. If the pilot cannot talk to us, we use our radar screens to track them silently. We watch their flying path very carefully, guessing where they intend to safely land the airplane. Sometimes a sick passenger needs a doctor quickly, forcing the pilot to land the plane early. We guide him to the nearest big city, helping the sick person get fast medical help. Listen, think, we need to fix, repeat, until every airplane lands safely on the smooth ground. Controllers must stay perfectly calm during emergencies, speaking with a very smooth and confident radio voice. If the pilot hears fear in your voice, they might panic and make a bad mistake. You have to act like a brave leader, guiding the scared pilot safely through the storm. Teamwork is how we survive busy days, talking constantly to the other controllers sitting near us. If my radio sector gets too busy, my friend will step in to help me quickly. We point at the radar screen together, sharing the heavy workload to keep the sky safe. You are never working completely alone, relying on your smart friends to catch any bad mistakes. Aviation weather is another very huge challenge, because cold ice can break an airplane flying high. Ice freezes on the wide metal wings, making the airplane too heavy to fly safely today. We help pilots climb above freezing clouds, finding warmer air to melt the dangerous heavy ice. Thick fog is also a major problem, hiding the runway when the pilot tries to land. We use our strong radio landing beams, guiding the airplane safely through the thick white fog. Learning air traffic control takes many long years, studying thick books and practicing on computer simulators. You must pass very hard tests, proving you can handle the intense stress of the job. We hope you enjoyed our simple lessons, learning the basic rules of the busy flying sky. Being a controller is a great career, offering good money and a very fun daily challenge. You get to solve giant moving puzzles, sending happy families safely on their sunny summer vacations. Every single shift feels completely different, because the weather and the airplanes change every single day. You will always feel very proud, knowing your hard work keeps millions of flying people safe. Now let us answer our final set of questions, testing your memory on these big emergencies. 96. What happens when an airplane engine breaks down while flying high up in the blue sky? The pilot declares a major flying emergency, asking the controller for immediate help on the radio. We clear all other airplanes out of the way, making a safe path for their landing. 96. Why do we give a broken airplane absolute priority over all the other flying sky traffic? A broken airplane might crash easily, so they must land on the ground very fast today. Normal flying planes are perfectly safe, so they can wait higher up in the blue sky. 97. Do broken airplanes have to follow the normal strict distance rules during a bad flying emergency? No, We let them fly as fast as possible directly towards the closest safe airport runway. Emergency rules allow us to break standard distances, focusing only on saving the falling airplane today. 98. What do controllers do if the pilot radio breaks and they cannot talk to us anymore? We watch their silent airplane on our radar screen, clearing traffic away from their predicted path. We guess where they want to safely land, using flashing green tower lights to guide them. 99. Why might a perfectly good airplane need to land very early before reaching its planned destination? A passenger might get very sick, needing a hospital doctor faster than the plane can fly. We guide the airplane to a big city, making sure an ambulance waits near the runway. 100. Why must controllers speak with a very calm and smooth voice during a scary flying emergency? A calm voice helps the frightened pilot relax, preventing them from making very bad flying mistakes. If we sound scared on the loud radio, the pilot will panic and lose control completely. 101. How does teamwork help us survive a very long and stressful busy air traffic control shift? We share the heavy workload with our friends, talking constantly to keep the busy sky safe. Another controller can quickly type on the computer, letting you focus only on talking to pilots. 102. What happens if a controller gets too overwhelmed by too many planes on their radar screen? A smart friend will step in quickly, taking over some radio calls to help them rest. You are never working completely alone, relying on a strong team to catch any bad mistakes. 103. Why is freezing ice a very dangerous problem for an airplane flying in the cold clouds? Ice sticks to the wide metal wings, making the airplane too incredibly heavy to safely fly. Heavy ice ruins the lift of the wings, pulling the plane down toward the hard ground. 104. How do air traffic controllers help a pilot escape from dangerous freezing ice in the clouds? We give them permission to climb higher, helping them find warm air above the freezing clouds. The warm sunshine melts the heavy ice away, allowing the airplane to fly normally once again. 105. How do airplanes land safely when thick white fog hides the entire airport from the pilot? We use strong radio landing beams, guiding the blind airplane directly down to the paved concrete. The airplane computer rides the invisible electronic signal, landing the plane perfectly without seeing the runway. 106. What is the very first step to becoming a smart air traffic controller in our country? You must study thick aviation books, learning all the basic flying rules over many long months. Passing written exams proves you understand the complicated laws of the busy open sky very well. 107. How do new controllers practice talking to airplanes without causing a major crash in the sky? They practice on very realistic computer simulators, guiding fake digital airplanes around a fake video airport. Simulators let students make bad mistakes safely, learning how to fix problems without hurting real people. 108. Why is air traffic control considered a very fun and exciting career choice for young people? Every single day brings brand new challenges, feeling exactly like playing a giant fast video game. You get to solve complex moving puzzles, making good money while keeping thousands of people safe. 109. What is the biggest reward for working as an air traffic controller during your long life? You feel extremely proud every day, knowing your hard mental work saved many innocent flying lives. Watching happy families land safely for their sunny vacations makes all the difficult stress completely worth it. 110. Why do we force other airplanes to turn completely away from a plane with a broken engine? We must build a massive empty path, ensuring the broken plane never hits another flying jet. The broken plane might lose altitude quickly, so we clear the sky directly beneath its path. 111. Who do controllers call when an airplane declares an emergency and needs to land very fast? We call the loud airport fire trucks, asking them to wait safely beside the active runway. The fast fire trucks provide immediate help, rescuing the frightened passengers if the plane crashes today. 112. Why is bad flying weather considered to be the biggest daily challenge for a busy controller? Storms force airplanes to change their routes quickly, ruining our perfectly planned safe radar separation bubbles. We must think very fast on our feet, moving all the airplanes around the dark rainy clouds. 113. What should a busy controller do if they realize they made a bad mistake with airplanes? They must admit the mistake immediately, turning the airplanes quickly to restore the safe empty distance. Trying to hide a mistake causes dangerous crashes, so we always work openly with our team. You can find the link to get the full complete course in the video description below.